feel so happy. Seriously. Like, I really want to take him up to come back on. Like, I could have him on regularly.
Every day. Just every day we'll have Ryan La Sala on.
Yes.
Yeah, we had the best time chatting with Ryan La Sala. He is magic in human form. So I guess I should intro this show.
Yes. It's like giddy fangirls who just saw like,
yeah.
That's how I feel.
Like, oh, totally. As soon as we got off of the interview, I was like on a sugar rush. Like I was just so just happy and excited. And
do our intro and
yeah. Welcome to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle, coming out in fall 2023, and I am here with the glorious, I lost words, the queen of butterflies and trolls and fairies. I am here. Shangela herself would give you 2 snaps.
No.
I'm here with Melanie Schubert. Melanie, how are you today?
Okay, that was the best intro ever. And I want to get to that part in the bio later because I live for RuPaul's Drag Race. So when I saw, now I'm just like, when I saw that in Ryan's bio, I was just like, well, yes, we're going to be best friends. Immediately, yes. So yes, I'm just also feeling just so happy. Like it was honestly just a pleasure to do the podcast today. And I think you can really tell that, Ryan has a podcast and his energy is just so, I didn't feel pressure. I felt like we were just 3 old friends, not new friend, like we've only just chat to him for the first time. I mean, you've been following him for ages, of course, but I don't think you've met him before, but it just felt like 3 old friends having a yarn about the most random shit ever, which is my favorite thing in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. He put on the cat's hat. So we dabbled in the conversation of cats, but we didn't go deep. We didn't go too deep because I think we could have lost Ryan in the conversation of Cats the musical.
I appreciated his point of view though. Like it's definitely not what I've heard from other people. But like there is like a creative mastery to it, I guess. Like
you have to have sexier cats. That was the problem. They weren't sexy enough. And I never thought about that. Yeah. But cats should be sexy.
They should be. I mean, how you got my smoker's laugh out of me? Not that I smoke, but I have an old man smoker laugh that comes out every now and then.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't know like why, but sometimes I'm like, oh God, like, should I re-record? Like, why am I laughing like that? But
no, I live for it. I live for like the most goofiest, wildest laughs. That's when you got a true laugh out of a person. I can't stand poised, like, sorry, mom, but my mom has, not that I don't know if she listens to the show, but my mom has this laugh that she does for like company.
Oh yeah.
But when she's at home, she's like a real hysterical snorter as well. Like you got a snort from me the other day. And so I'm just like, I love people's wild and wonderful laughs because they're usually ridiculous. One of my friends used to be like, he would laugh and then at the end of every laugh, he'd be like,
oh yeah.
It just sets you off, like I live for it. How are you, my friend?
Good. I'm doing good. Actually, I am very excited because I got an exciting email today and I haven't had time to tell you. But like we're talking cover art, baby. We're getting into the feeling. So I know. Yeah, I wasn't you know how it's like when you're not expecting it, you're just minding your own business. And then of course that's when the email hits. And so I was just doing something, and then I saw my editor like emailed me, and I was like, oh no, like at first I panicked because I thought, oh, she's got my edits. So I was thinking, oh shit, like it's on.
Yeah.
But no, but she was like, we're, you know, here's the schedule. And she like broke everything down of, you know, what they're wanting to get input from me. And I was like, I am ready. I have been screenshotting book covers since I started writing. So yeah. So you know, I won't see anything or know for however long, but it's starting. So
I don't know what it is about cover stuff, but it's like when it really starts to feel like a book, you know, like I know it's a book the whole way through, but somehow the cover process, it's just like you're oh, that's very exciting news coming to you.
It is. Well, yeah, we'll have to do some kind of fun thing like with Kyla. But like I think she posted in one of her things, like there's a book shaped thing in my inbox, and I just love that visual of like,
yes,
like it's being contained, we're getting something.
I know, I'm so excited. And since you've brought up Kyla, big shout out to Kyla, who is having her cover reveal finally this weekend, hosted by BuzzFeed Books. Just casually dropping that. So Kyla's our episode 7, I want to say. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, she was one of our like early, maybe 3rd.
Yes, maybe.
Or
right.
I mean, who knows? But
post. I put it in the post, and now my memory fails me.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while. But she was one of our like OG guests, and we've just always known Kyla is going to be this mega star, and BuzzFeed knows too.
I know now too. Episode 6 for our listeners. Catch up on Kyla's episode. One of my favorite episodes. She had so much wisdom to say, and just one of my favorite people in the world. Like really, it's just, she's just such a beautiful person, and I cannot wait for her book. I'm going to be screaming, and she's from our class. For those of us who are newer to the pod, she's also Pitch Wars 2020 family. So we have just such a extra special place for our class members in our heart. So, and a lot of talented, just driven good people in our class, you know, like it's.
Amen. Just like you. What are you up to? Because I know you've been excited this last few days.
I've been excited. You know, it's like, I don't know, somewhere along the way, I lost a bit of my joy with this book. And it's funny because we were just talking about that with Ryan, about like, to me, it is important to have like, to feel like this is the best thing I've ever been writing when I'm writing. And somewhere along the way, I was just like, I think I did too many courses. And we did talk about this. I was doing like creative genius, story genius, Save the Cat. I was just like, trying so hard in my head to be like, this has to be better. This has to be better than my last book. It has to be like shining. It has to be brilliant. It has to do this. It has to follow Save the Cat. And like somewhere in amongst trying to feed all of that into it, I kept losing my joy. And I would like be like, I'd have a little staggered go, and then I'd be like, ooh, okay, well now I'm frozen again. What next? And I don't know, like just this past week or two, I've just let go of it. I'm like, I have learned these things. They are there. But I do not have the brain that can hold on to all of it at once.
Yeah.
And guess what, Melanie? That is, I'm telling myself because it's me. That's what edits are for. Like, this is the thing. Like, and this is what outlines are for. So I wrote my fucking synopsis out. I'm in love with it. It's perfect. And that's it. That is what I am using to go off to continue to, because it should have all those key skeleton points, right? The kind of Save the Cat model. And I just keep referring to that. I'm like, am I following the basic story thing? And for me, and for the way my brain works, that is enough. And any more like over planning and plotting and like Scrivener type things just does my freaking head in. Like I lose my joy. And it shows in how I'm writing, because the other day I could not believe it. I looked up and I checked, and I'd like written 2,000 words, and it might not be much to the speed writers, but it's more than I had written in months, and just that for me is the clear sign of like, I'm on fire about this again. And that feeling you cannot keep up with your brain. You're typing and you can't keep up with your brain. And it's so nice to be back there again. And I'm sure I'll reach points where it feels stickier again and I've got to work out a few things, but I'm just trusting my gut now, trusting my synopsis, because I'm happy, because I spent my time working out all these things on the synopsis. It's not that I don't do the plotting, it's just that I can't continuously do it or it steals my joy. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. No, we kind of talked about this with Ryan. It's like, we put on this thing of like tortured writers, but maybe it's not, the writer, maybe it's the book that is snagging us, or the system of how we think we need to write the book. And so when you let go and just be free, and then the words start flowing, and like you said, revisions are coming. Like, we just write these, let's get the magic, let's get the goods out, let's get the plot out, and then we'll get back and make sure those plot points are there. But we don't have to do that on the first round. It's,
Exactly. And I'm also just making a conscious, like, one of the things in my meditations recently, and it sounds so obvious, and I guess it's not just with books either, but it's like I'm making a conscious decision on that topic to choose joy, because there is a moment. Yeah. There's a moment like, I'm a positive person by choice. My heart is just as crinkled and has all those other dark thoughts as the other people, but I feel like you get this moment where you're like, I can choose to like ruminate on this and be like, this is the worst book in the world. And like, I'm a whatever imposter. And like, it's not good. You can like feed those thoughts, and you know what? They're going to grow. That's like, it is literally, I'm realizing I can feed my positivity too. And it's such a powerful tool to have. So now I'm finding when I'm sat there being like, this is never gonna go anywhere, you talentless hack, I'm like, shut up, brain. And I get up and I put on BTS and I dance like a really doped up stick insect in the kitchen. And I get it out of my system, and I'm like, and I'll put on something where I'm just like, I'm the greatest, I can do this, like I can do this. And like, sure enough, even if I feel ridiculous for the first while, even if my heart's not in it straight away, you eventually are like, yeah, I can do it. Like, you just cheerlead yourself on. And I'm finding it sounds like simplistic advice, but it's kind of like changed my life to like feed my positivity instead of my negativity, because you do get that choice, both thoughts are there. And that was like a random monologue, sorry.
No, it was, thank you. Again, you just brought us back to writer church, just to life church, but it's the truth. You can get so stuck in your head and being a jerk to yourself. And so you have to switch and think, no, okay. And I do it all the time. I'll stop and put music on and dance too. And just something about that movement and feeling like a complete idiot, asshole, whatever you want to call yourself, but feeling like that really does help. It humbles you a little. Because you're like, maybe I'm not as cool as I thought.
It's like not taking yourself too seriously, I reckon, because that's when I think back to when I would like really I used to be like a really depressive, negative person actually. And I would just feed those thoughts endlessly. And I would like, it's like weird to think back now, but you actually feel like you're kind of like better than everyone else for thinking that way. Like, oh, those positive people, they don't know the true pain or the true state of the world. They don't understand. You know what I mean? It's like this idea that by thinking the dark thought, you are somehow wiser and more powerful. But everyone knows there's this shit, you know, everyone struggles. It's kind of like, and that's not to say you don't have bad days, you don't have negative days. Have a day where you cry on the bathroom floor, whatever. But like,
Sure.
I'm just making an active choice to feed my positivity now. And I find it's really helping. And yeah, just coming back to what we were talking about with Ryan, where it's like, you don't have to feed that whole tortured artist, I'm going to go nowhere, I'm never going to amount to anything. You don't have to feed it. You can also feed the other side and be like, fuck it, I'm going to do a podcast with my friend and we're going to have fun and we're going to be awesome. And like, you know, the more you feed it, there it is. Like, surprise. But before I get too carried away, back to our guest, Ryan, who has just gotten us in this zesty mood where we just like can't, well, it's me, I can't shut up. I also just had coffee, so I apologize. My husband knows when I've just had coffee, he just like has to settle in for like, we call them my monologues because I get like carried away. I just like have to have this full monologue about the universe and life. It's just how I am.
That's me with wine. I get it. I'm wine. Once
I love.
I'm ready to talk.
Yes. I love that. Well, you're gonna have your wine on the podcast next time and we'll get philosophical together. Did you want to read Ryan's bio?
You do such a great job. You have such an amazing voice for this. I feel like you could.
I don't know about that, but I can do it if you want. All right, I will do it. Ryan La Sala writes about surreal things happening to queer people. Ryan resides in New York City, but only physically. Escapist to the core, he spends most of his time in the astral planes and only takes up corporeal form for special occasions like brunch and to watch anime. I really wanted to ask him his favorite animes, but we'll do that next. We'll get him back on. He's definitely coming back on. So we'll do that then. Like brunch and to watch anime, which is banned on the astral planes. Yeah. Ryan.
Well, you should have just stood up and showed him your shirt. We didn't even think about it.
I know. Ryan, I have an avatar shirt on. You didn't even see.
You just showed your chest. That's okay.
And now I just grabbed my breasts on the thing. So it's a good day. Ryan is I'm just gone. Sorry for grabbing my breasts on the podcast. Ryan. How did we end up here? I can't see the tears in my eyes. Ryan is the author. Can you read the rest?
Yeah. Do you need me to take over?
Yes.
All right, I got you, girl. Ryan is the author behind the riotously imaginative Reverie and the brilliantly constructed Be Dazzled. He has been featured in Entertainment Weekly, NPR, Tour.com, and one time Shangela from RuPaul's Drag Race called him cute. Right in the middle of the road downtown. So, pretty big deal all around. Yes, I say yes. His next book, The HONEYS, will be published with Scholastic on August 16th, 2022. I hope all of you guys have already pre-ordered. If not, get on it right now.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that too, because yes, as soon as I saw that, I knew we were going to be best friends because as you know, I'm obsessed with RuPaul's Drag Race and I'm going in October. It's coming here in October and I'm going to see Mama RuPaul live. Seriously, Mama RuPaul, he's like my spirit guide, one of my spirit guides in this life. Like just everything he says is so wise and woke and self-aware and just like, you know, just some people just want the world to be a better place and it just oozes out of their every pore. Of course, on RuPaul's Drag Race, it's also mixed in with like penis jokes and everything. So it's just the perfect mix, in my opinion. It's just like elevated television. And so that's a big deal to have Shangela call you cute. I'd put that in my bio too.
Yeah, just immediately, anytime you meet somebody, Shangela called me cute. So,
right?
Yeah.
So yes, we are. And lastly, before we get into that interview, we had our winner for Big Magic, which we forgot to announce last week.
Yeah, and the week before that, and probably the week before that, that was all me. I apologize. I am scatterbrained. But we did. We had a winner. We had hundreds and hundreds of entries. Thousands of you guys entered. And we drew a number, and that person is the Lissa Mia Smith. Lissa was actually one of our guests on the show, and I just assumed she had read Big Magic because she is Big Magic. She is the personification of Big Magic, but she has not. And so the fact that she won is just, it makes sense. She needs this book in her life. Yes. So Lissa, it's coming to you, baby girl.
I literally thought she must have it like on her shelf in like her place of honor, because you're right. She is Big Magic. Like the way she speaks, the things she talks about with writing, it's all very much in that line of thinking, you know? And I just, as you know, live for that, because that's why we're here, isn't it? The Big Magic.
The Big Magic. And this interview coming up with Ryan La Sala, you will see he is Big Magic as well. So you guys have to listen and just take in everything he said. And just so excited to share this episode with you.
Yes. And check out his podcast, Bad Author Book Club, because it is fucking hilarious. Like I was in stitches about it. I'm going to work my way through the rest. And I really want to find a copy of Modelland. Do you have a copy?
No, I honestly feel like I need to find it, but I don't
get it and read it together. It sounds so bad.
Total. Did you ever watch America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks?
Oh, baby, you know I did.
Okay, so it's like, so when they're describing things, I can hear Tyra the whole time and like picture her just writing and be like, "This is amazing," and like, she's Tyra. What do you?
Yeah. So yes,
Tyra.
Listen to their podcast, but more importantly, listen to ours now. Please don't forget to subscribe. Loving our subscribers coming through, boosting our YouTube numbers. And yes, without further ado, here is the Ryan La Sala.
Hello, Ryan.
Hi, everyone. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I need to adjust my input. Okay.
Okay.
All right. How's that?
So good.
Perfect.
Good old wired headphones. You try to go fancy with shit and then it all breaks.
I know. Yeah, it's like you want to look good and professional and like do all the shit and then just stick to the stuff.
I've started really taking my electronics to task. If they don't do it for me, if they're glitching on me, I break them immediately. Like I smash them on the ground like a toddler. And I hope every electronic around me in a Toy Story fashion is paying very close attention to what happens to the things that betray me and the tools that do not service me. I am no longer dealing with like, oh my God, technology, boo, boo, boo. If you're a pen and you break on me, I'm snapping you in half in front of your sisters. Like it's over.
I'm here for that. And you know what? They probably are listening. They listen to everything else. Like I swear.
It's all connected. Alexa can't stop suggesting like routines to me, and she'll be like, in the morning, I can play the song, like the sound of sparrows. Would you like that? And I'll be like, no, fuckface. Sorry, that sounds awful. And can I swear?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like fucking hate. I know that when the AI revolution starts, it's gonna start with me. I'm gonna be like victim number 0 because I have a really, really contentious relationship with all of my devices for the reasons that we just outlined. But I'm just over it. After 2 years of being virtualized and things not working the way that they should, I'm ready to go back to my roots of just like churning butter out in the woods someplace. Like I'm going to go rustic. I've decided.
I would pay to see that, honestly. I would love to see you out on TikTok recording you just in the wilderness.
Yeah, it's going to be called Laura Angles Even Wilder. And that's my plan for myself because I'm done with it. I'm done with technology.
Wasn't there something like that with Paris Hilton at one point where they went out into the country? And maybe I'm like, was there something about
You mean The Simple Life? Like the
Yes,
original,
thank
like,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Yeah, that's gonna be me soon.
I,
Thank you.
I'm
for
just
bringing
seeing the
this
hat.
good hat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me just, I don't want to be doing branding for cats, but we'll turn it around.
No, we're here for it.
No, that's honestly perfect because we started this podcast talking about cats because we had both just tried to watch the film adaptation.
Oh, okay.
And well, what did you think about that? Let's ask.
That's a whole podcast episode. I'm a huge fan of cats, and I feel like I'm the person on earth who thinks the most about cats. And I am consistently finding myself like drunkenly explaining to people in the bars of New York like why cats is actually this incredible cultural artifact well before the movie came out. Like I've had this for a long time. The movie came out and everyone was like, oh my God, it ruined reality. It like gave us the pandemic because the timing was so conspicuous. But I think that the movie Cats was a surrealist masterpiece. And I think people being upset that the cats were too sexy are unfamiliar with the source material. Because if you go to the Broadway show, you would know that the movie, its main fault is that the cats were not sexy enough. But like the show Cats is so unbelievably horny that like they really like missed the opportunity to make it as horny as the show. And there's a lot more that I could say about this, but we have something like we have other things to talk about, so I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, yeah, we'll save that for a whole new show, a different show. We'll have you back on just so we could talk about cats. But let's get right into why we had you on, and that's to talk about you and your writing journey. So let's get right into it. Where did it all start for you?
So I grew up as like a little gay kid in Connecticut, and I was so gay that it like literally repelled all the other like closeted gay kids away from me because they were like, I cannot touch that person, they are radioactive. So I was like truly like the only gay person I knew for like a long ass time. And the result was I was like very lonely, but also really like not self-satisfied. Like I was just like durable. Like I like took care of my own needs. Like I was like a party of one and I loved it. And so I oftentimes found myself like having to just kind of make do or make stuff for myself, right? Like if I was uninvited to a party, or if like, you know, the sleepovers no longer were inviting me over, right? Like I throw my own parties and things like that too. So I always had this like, okay, like it's up to me to kind of change my own reality to make myself comfortable. So I've always been like that. And when I got to high school, I was being handed books like The Hunger Games and Twilight and all these like classics. And everyone was like, these are so good. And I read them and I was like, you're all fucking dumb. These are bad. These are all really bad. This is drivel. I love it. I love all of this trash, but it's trash writing and there's no gay people for miles. Like what happened to gay people in the future in The Hunger Games? Where are gay people? I was shocked that there was a whole series about glittering boys and none of them kissed. It blew my mind that there was such a lack of imagination in young adult literature. And of course, now as an adult and a writer, it's much more complex than that. But as a teen, I'm not having the sociological argument that we love to have on Twitter. And I'm granting my teen self the grace to not have like a rhetorical argument right now. So that's why I say that this stuff's bad. I'm talking as my teen self. But the result was I was like, okay, well, if like, you know, Ms. Myers and Ms. Collins can get published for writing what I consider to be the bare minimum unimaginative like drivel that it is, like I better do the same. Like I could, like if any idiot can write a book, so can I, was sort of my attitude. And as it turns out, as far as idiots go, I can write a book, and I did. And that first book became well, actually it's literally the thing that I just picked up was Model Land by Tyra Banks. But so like literally any idiot can write a book. I love this book, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, so Reverie was my very first book, and it was an idea that I literally started out of spite in high school as a teenager, same age as the characters, as basically like, okay, I'm going to add in everything gay and rambunctious, and I'm going to add to the drivel. I'm going to add to like the, like, you know, the commercial garbage out there, but it's going to be gay and it's going to be authentic to like what I want to see in the world. And now I've grown as a person. I grant a lot more grace to, you know, like those writers and what they're doing. And I actually love The Hunger Games and I love Twilight too. But that's where it sort of began for me. It began with this like really kind of like revenge mission.
I love that. Well, and it's funny because, I've followed you for a long time. I, listen to the podcast that you guys have, and, your personality just comes through on every aspect, every platform you have. And so when I picked up the book, I was expecting, this like just bright, brilliant, just wild story, which it is. But
It's like much more serious than people think.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And honestly, the writing is stunning. It is
Thank you.
gorgeous. And
Thank
so
you.
like it really is. I was like, okay, because I listened to the audio book.
Yeah.
And I was just like in it right away. So
Yeah.
not only is it a revenge book, it is a gorgeous masterpiece. And I bought the paperback because I just love the cover.
Yeah, thank you. They did a great job on the design of it. And Michael Crouch, who does the narration for the audiobook, incredible job. That was such a surreal experience. It's such an added dimension. Writers out there, if you get to have an audiobook produced, it's so cool listening to someone perform your work. It's such an added layer to it. So that really that's sort of when I knew. I was like, oh, that's like when this felt very real. It was when on the pub day for Reverie, I was like listening to the audiobook because it came out. And that's when it felt like, oh, I can't take this back. It's out in the world. Someone else has sort of added to it, and now it's everyone's.
Yes.
Well, I'm a new fangirl to the fold, but I am absolutely obsessed when Angela told me about this book. Can you tell our listeners, give it a little pitch to our listeners, because it sounds freaking epic.
Yes, I'd love to. So Reverie, my first book, it's a story of Kane Montgomery, who young gay kid growing up in Connecticut. Where did I get that source material? Doesn't know. He's like extremely lonely, total bookworm. And one day he just wakes up without his memories. Like his summer has been removed from his mind and he does not know why. And then shortly thereafter, reality in his town starts to come undone. And there are these competing forces around Kane that are trying to basically recruit him. On one side, there's this like magnificent dimension hopping drag queen named Posey, who sort of sets themselves up as this potential mentor to Kane and tries to guide Kane towards using this like reality chaotic magic, which we, if you've ever seen like WandaVision, chaos magic is sort of like what she uses, and that's very much what Kane uses too. It's sort of this magic that can kind of create dimensions made out of dreams. But then on the other side are these like other teenagers that are like Kane that are saying, no, you were one of us, but something bad happened. And the whole mystery sort of unfolds as these kids are weaving through these reveries, these dreamt realms that take place in their town, but can be like any genre. They have monsters, they've got madness sort of built into them. And the point of the reverie is that if you're in it, you've got to play the character that you're given, or else slowly the reverie is going to sort of collapse if you defy that role. So the whole book is about not just, the worlds that we build within ourselves and what happens when they're externalized and forced upon other people, but it's also, what does a gay kid look like in a Victorian romance? What does a gay kid look like in the deep future during, on a space age cruise ship, right? Like these are all the kind of the bigger questions that like are asked in the like meta imagining of the book, but fundamentally it's just a really fun kind of raucous, glamorous, and yeah, like you said, like at times it does get really serious, but it was meant to entertain, and it's very indulgent in that way, and I'm really proud of it. It's for a first book, it kind of did a lot to change my life, so I'll always have like such an amount of love for Reverie and the people that find it.
Yeah, you should be proud of it. I mean, it really was action almost from beginning to end. I just couldn't put it down or stop. So I was ignoring my children. I was not doing what I needed to do. So
Man.
Job well done.
Great. That's the best feedback a writer can get, is that it caused familial neglect.
Yeah, you did well. And I know you have a second book, and then you have a third book coming out pretty soon, August 16th, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Do you want me to tell y'all about that?
Please.
I know you just did a pitch, but give us the next pitch. We want to hear it.
So yeah, the HONEYS. I'm so excited. This is my third book. It's my horror debut, and I love spooky stuff. So very excited about this. But The Honeys is about this gender fluid teen named Mars, who one night is just woken up by his sister, his twin sister, standing over his bed, and she tries to kill him. And he doesn't know why, because she's supposed to be at summer camp. And in the ensuing struggle, he accidentally kills her, which means that he's also killed any chance of kind of understanding what was happening. So his only option is to basically guilt his parents into letting him attend the summer camp where his sister was until she sort of came all the way home to evidently murder him. So Mars goes to summer camp and he knows what he's looking for. He thinks that his sister's, alleged insanity has to do with the group of girls that were inducting her into this kind of known but not talked about secret society at the camp called the Honeys. And the Honeys are beautiful and they're like feminine and they're sort of this like cottagecore fantasy of like, woodland living. The thing that I was describing at the beginning of our discussion, like I want to go out into the woods and I want to become one of the Honeys. And Mars thinks, as grief often does to us, it sort of connects all these disparate things in our world and puts them together in a really weird way. But for Mars, that adds up to a connection between the Honeys, his sister's, insanity, and then her death, and the bees that the Honeys keep behind their cabin. They keep bees, and that's why they're called the Honeys by the campers. And so Mars thinks all of these things are connected, and then people start to go missing, and the bees behind the cabin start to produce a blood red honey, and all of these things are, on Mars's path towards figuring out the truth. But you're going to have to read the book to find out what happens.
It sounds incredible.
Thank you.
And the cover is lush.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. They put so much effort into this. I really, really love it.
It's stunning. So tell us a little bit about your writing process. Like, are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? What's kind of your go-to?
I am someone who thinks and thinks and thinks about something and lets it sort of build itself within me until like very suddenly it like just like T-bones me and like totally knocks me out of whatever I'm doing, and I'm arrested for like a month or two writing it. So I do take a lot of time to kind of like think and wool gather and imagine and research. But when like a book is ready to be written, it totally I like go into like labor basically. And then, people don't see me for like a month or two and then it's written. And I do end up outlining a lot just because I have a lot of ideas and I'm so panicked that I'm going to forget something. So I write everything down, and even things that I cut out of manuscripts, I sort of keep in like a scrap file on my computer. So I always have sort of records of everything. But yeah, I'm pretty diligent about outlining. But that said, sometimes I'll be writing and I'll sort of notice something in like the corner of a scene and I'll pursue that and unravel that, sort of see where that thread goes. So I don't limit myself to just what I've outlined.
I love that. I love hearing everybody's different processes because it really varies. And I've just been noticing for myself is I try one thing that works for other people, but my brain is like, no, bitch, like that is not how we do things. And so it's like being okay with that. And I really like that you just let it like grow and brew inside you, and I feel that completely. I mean,
I found that like I don't know if the two of you were like this, but when I'm writing something, like I kind of want to have a really good grip on not even necessarily like the plot of something, but it's oftentimes like, what am I trying to say with this book? What does it feel like to read it? What impression do I want people to walk away? And I've like the term that I've sort of come up with is like, what's like the thesis? What's like the marrow of this story? And if I have that is my guiding light when I don't know what happens next in the outline or when I don't have a plot to follow. If I know sort of like how to stay true to like the vibe, if you will, then everything else tends to fall into place. But I've really got to have that first. And like, I've had that for every book that I've started. I've always had like at least that in hand, sort of that lantern. And then everything else is sort of clicked into place after.
I love that. And me and Angela talk about the book Big Magic a lot. And to me, that's the big magic right there. Like the idea just, did you say like arrests you? Like it just, and I feel like we just were talking about this in our DMs the other day, just about wanting to be on fire for what you're writing. Like, I feel like you have to have that kind of explosive, like this story, this is the one I want to read, because you're going to be reading it like 100 times, doing revisions and writing it. And if you don't have, like, I just don't play into that whole tortured writer thing of like, oh, writing, it's like, it's a cruel mistress. I mean, like a little bit it's a cruel mistress. But as a general, I'm like, I love it. I love the fire, and like I love what I'm writing, or I wouldn't do it, you know, like it's, so I just love hearing that it just
I'm
opens to you.
I'm with you on that too. I have so much joy in me when I write, even if I'm writing stuff that's sad or scary or spooky. It's the only thing that I can do. And at the end of it, I just feel so much like more alive and like calibrated. I feel like it sort of solves all these like weird knots that form in me while I'm doing other things. And yeah, the whole cruel mistress thing, I'm like, that's fine. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm in like a brothel of cruel mistresses. The dishes are a cruel mistress and I do them. Like, I don't know, I would never compare that to like what writing feels like for me. And but I, you know, I get for other people it's like a slog, but sometimes all this talk of writing being impossible and all of this stuff, like I just want to like tell everyone to shut up, because yeah, that might be the case for you, but for everyone else it's sort of just getting into it. You're sort of teaching them and like you're prescribing them this attitude towards their creative craft that feels like really dreadful. And that might not be the case. I was told time and time and time again that I was going to suffer basically for creating on my own terms. And I have suffered, but it's not because of like the act of creation. It's because of maybe the responses to it. But the actual act of creation has always felt so good to me. And I'm glad that I sort of unlearned a lot of that like traditional writing, like Ernest Hemingway. I don't know why Ernest Hemingway comes to mind, but I imagine like the like white man like scratching out, you know, Nabokov recently, his like journals were published and there's like all of these like daily entries of his journal being like unending suffering, did not write one word. And I'm like, that's great for Nabokov, but like I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we need to transition a little bit of like, that is the picture I have in my head at all times, is just this harried man, just like, oh, life is miserable. But
Yeah.
really, like any day we get to write is a beautiful day. It's something we're getting out of us. And, you know, a story needs to be told. And books like yours need to be out there. And so I'm glad that you're saying, fuck that. I'm enjoying this. Let's keep going.
Right. And I just want people to know that it's like normal to feel pride in your work and to feel joy in it too. Like you're not a psychopath if you like end your day writing and be like, wow, I really like what I did today, or I did a good job, or like I feel accomplished. You should reach for those feelings and you should cultivate that too, because you're gonna have a variety at the end of it, right? Like you're gonna have good and bad days, but you shouldn't penalize yourself for feeling happy about it, you know?
I think that's so important what you've just said, because we are almost taught to like, you need humbleness, yes, but you also need to believe what you're writing is the best thing ever, because otherwise you can't go for this big crazy dream of being published if you don't like love what you're writing. So I say down with this like image of the tortured artist, down with the tortured artist. I mean, like, we all have tortured shit inside of us, but I agree with what you said. The writing itself is like a gift and a joy and like, dare I say, therapy for some of us.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how it is for me. That's how I experience it too. And I don't, I don't prescribe this to anybody else in the same way that I think that Ernest Hemingway thing needs to be like totally faded out of kind of the public imagination. But yeah, I don't know, works for me. So I hope that whoever's listening to this, maybe it clicks in their head that like, oh, I can actually enjoy this. Like it doesn't, or maybe the thing that you're writing is what's causing you dread and suffering, right? Like it could just be a symptom of something you're working on. You might not like it, which, you know, that should tell you a little bit about like maybe what you ought to be working on instead.
I think that's sound advice. Something you said somewhere, I don't remember if it was like a conference or some Zoom thing or something, it was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure it was you that said, don't ever call your book little. And
oh my God, yes.
Okay, it was you. Okay, good. Because I was like, thank you. Because like for the longest time, that's what I had been doing was like, oh, I just this little thing, it's nothing. And I heard you say that and I was like, holy shit, like, thank you. You know, it's that permission of like, why call your book little? It's like, you work so hard on that thing.
Oh God, so the two of you are now inducted into the secret society and everyone listening similarly is about to be, but the thing that I talk about most with like, or most consistently with like my like writer friends is little book energy. And it's, we all have it. I have it. I like even feel like sometimes with the honeys, I sort of like edge into it because it's such a precious piece of work to me that sometimes, like, you know, you'll reach and you've seen this 1,000 times, I guarantee it. You've probably even written a post like this, but it's like, I can't believe that my little book is in Barnes and Noble, or the blurb comes out. I can't believe that so many people love my little book, right? And it doesn't have to be that phrase, but it's basically this attitude of like, oh my God, wow, all of this hype over who, me, my little book. And it just, first of all, I actually find that to be a like totally concocted and false humility, because any writer in traditional publishing knows that by the time a book actually gets published to like blurbs, and by the time it's there, the sort of the like effect of like the book being real, the deal got signed a year and a half ago, sweetie. Like, you can't act like you're totally blindsided by the reality of this thing and like, oh my God, I didn't see this coming. Like, I'd like to thank the Academy. And so first of all, I think it's like false as hell. And second of all, it's actually not, probably for a lot of people, it is sincere, because we are told time and time again to like, it's that humility, right? That we've internalized, that is almost like we have to be like a little bit embarrassed that we like produced this thing, a book. But a book is a huge accomplishment. It takes so much time, so many no's towards other things, and so much sacrifice, that to diminish it by calling it like little is just so strange to me. And I feel like I need to like shake people when they do this, shake myself when I want to do the same thing. And so I now like self-check when I feel like I'm about to like little book my own book, because it's not little, it's a huge accomplishment. And I don't want to be the one among a world of people that are well and able and totally willing to diminish my work. Like, I don't want to be the one doing it first.
I'm giving you a standing ovation in my heart.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for letting me go on my rant. But yeah, this is something that, like, if I have one mission in life, it's not to be read. It's to like convince writers that that's not a good way to talk about their work.
But it's so important. And like, I think in Australia, we're definitely brought up majorly with like the tall poppy syndrome, like, don't shine too bright, shine a little bit, but not too bright. And yeah, like,
Really?
when you start to, I know, I like, one of the biggest hurdles was allowing myself to chase this. And especially growing up super religious, you feel so selfish. Like, dare I choose myself and chase this? And the answer is fuck yes. Because
yes.
you
Oh my
live
God,
in your
yes.
body, and this is your one precious life. And that's it. And once you realize that, you're just like, I've got to go for it. I owe it to myself, you know, like, so I'm all for this attitude. We've gone to Writer Church again today.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Welcome to Writers Church.
It's like unlearning all this stuff that, like, some of it, like, yes, you need humility. You need to be able to like accept feedback to get anywhere in the industry, right? Like, you can't just be like, there has to be the healthy balance of like, I'm everything, but also I know you're way further ahead of me and I need to listen to you because I'm not the shit just yet. But having the courage to go for it.
Yeah, totally agree.
I love it. Let me ask, looking back at all the things that you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this whole journey?
I think a younger me looked to like gain knowledge from the internet, because there's no like degree that I at least could find that was like, you know, how to like publish a book, how to write something maybe, but like how to publish a book. That's sort of like, you're sort of left to figure it out yourself. And I think I did a really good job as a kid, sort of scrappily putting together like how to do this thing. But as a result, I sort of dragged a really like tender mind through like what I now recognize as like a kind of like a really like unsafe place, like Twitter and like all of these other places where like you can gain a lot of knowledge. You can also end up internalizing a lot of things that we're already talking about, because people profess themselves as like experts, but really everyone's just sort of figuring it out. And especially like Twitter in like, you know, 2012 like 2017 was just like this like blow by blow cancellation bloodthirsty thing, and it sort of like created a lot of fear in me to actually care about anything, and to just sort of stick completely with like, oh, like I don't engage ever with things. I'm just completely irreverent. I'm trying to kind of unlearn a lot of that. And that's not necessarily even like writing advice. It's more like, you know, I don't even know how to distill this to like a sound bite, but I think for me it'd be like, maybe be careful what you internalize as far as like etiquette and behavior and all of that fun stuff, because ultimately like you're here to write books. You're not here to like perform activism. You're not here to purity test other people. Like all of that stuff, the rhetoric, the discourse, like sort of an extension of a culture that really ought to be focused on creating like good work. And it all comes down to the actual like writing that you're doing too. So I think that I probably would have added a little bit more focus to my agenda as a kid.
I literally just teared up. I don't know if you can feel me giving you a heart hug through the screen, but I just feel like that's everything. And like, I avoid Twitter mostly like the plague because yeah, like it has become a toxic place when there's anything happening, which is like always. And yeah, like I think it's just like giving each other the space to grow maybe, and not like putting everything like with a laser and like some stuff, yeah, we need to highlight it and whatever, but like it's not a very gracious place, Twitter. It's like looking for shit to like throw. And I think I
think that there's a lot to be said about it, and we definitely that's going to be on our second episode because I feel like there's a lot more to say about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a sort of a necessary evil. I've learned a ton and I've met amazing people through like Twitter and these like digital spaces, but I've also watched these spaces turn people into like parodies of themselves. And I've watched the dark magic of like cancellation and purity tests like consume the people that unleash them and sort of led the charge, and then they make one mistake and then all the people they ever offended come back for them. And like it's really strange to sort of have been part of this. Like, you know, I've been on it for like what feels like generations now, right? Like years and years and years. And so I can sort of safely say that like, oh, it's a lot of performance, and it's not as didactic as I thought it was. It's mostly just personal vendettas played out with really fancy language that feels academic but isn't.
I can think of several different things on TikTok.
Right. TikTok is doing the same thing. That they all do the same thing. I mean, as writers, we intellectualize things. It's the same reason, like, I don't believe things on Twitter anymore and on TikTok anymore because, you know, for the same reason that if I was at a murder mystery, I would be completely wary of the actors in the room. We're writers. It's our job to manipulate people with words. And I wish that I could have like noted that early on and been like, oh, this is all masterful theater. It's not like a university, right? Like, that's kind of how I now think about it too. I'm like, it's all a performance, and that goes for, you know, TikTok as well.
All of it. I see our time is like dwindling down, but I want to get into really fast Bad Author Book Club because it is fucking hilarious. I listened to it with my 14-year-old and she thinks it is like you just can't get enough. So what made you guys think of this, or just explain it to our listeners real fast too?
So Claribel Ortega, one of my very good friends, called me one day and mentioned that she discovered that Tyra Banks wrote a book called Model Land. It's a young adult book, and it came out in, I want to say like 2012 or something like that, and like hit the New York Times bestseller list. And it's extremely hard to find because there was one print run of it, and then there's not even like a digital copy. So if you want to read it, you've got to actually find the books from like a used bookstore or a collector. And she was like, I feel like this book is absolutely crazy. The reviews are insane for it. Like, do you want to do a podcast where we just read this and talk about it? And this birthed Bad Author Book Club, which started as Celebrity Book Club because we were going to just focus on celebrity books. But then we decided to widen our scope to just like fiction that is just like so like ridiculous that it needs to be talked about, which is a huge taboo. Authors talking about like other authors' work is not something that that you see often. But the thing is, like, most of the things we're talking about, like it's like Tyra Banks, other celebrity books, like they don't know who we are. We're clearly punching up. Also, like, this is definitely a like marketing and publicity stunt, so who cares? And, you know, like another book that we read that we actually loved was like, you know, erotica around a doctor and her love affair with the coronavirus. So there's other like books that are like clearly like they're meant to be talked about and analyzed. And I would hope that, you know, if I was an author that wrote one of these, I would want Claribel and myself, two other authors that are going to do it with like, you know, humor to actually sit down and sort of examine these texts and really take them very seriously, even though they're kind of jokey. So it's been a blast. We're almost done with Model Land by Tyra Banks, so we're about to announce what our next season will be. So we haven't done it yet, but I'm literally about to record an episode after we wrap up here. So yeah, that's the podcast.
Yeah, well, please, like, tell Clarabelle, like, thank you, because this has just given me like hours of endless entertainment. So appreciate you.
I love hearing that. You're very welcome. If you're out there and want to listen, you can find, we're almost done with Model N, so you can listen to like this entire book, or at least our analyzation of it. And then join us on like Discord. We have like a whole Discord server, and you like the two of you should join. It's very funny. People post like fan art that they make and all this other like their theories about all the stuff that happens in the book. It's wild. It's very fun.
Oh my gosh. I live and die every time you say Tookie with like, and you try to say it so straight laced, like Tookie, like, and I love that that's on purpose. You're trying to be really serious as you dissect.
We take it so serious. Yeah. And sometimes we like, yeah, sometimes we just like completely lose it. And like, sometimes we'll like perform the monologues of it like to one another and stuff with like funny music in the background. But no, you're right. I mean, we are really trying to like keep our heads around Tyra Banks's like artistic point of view for this book. And it like really like Tyra is either a genius or like the most evil person in the world. It is unclear. And we are 500 pages into this book.
I tried to find a copy to buy. I'm gonna have to look harder because
you need to find it.
Get it from the States. I was like, I don't know if I can spend 50. But I'm looking. I'm on the hunt because I need
if you find it, yeah. If you find it, grab yourself a copy. It is, I'm never giving mine away.
And you shouldn't. I mean, that is a precious book right there. That is art.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I literally found the book trailer for it. I have to send it if you haven't seen it. Because I was trying to find it. And the book trailer and an interview with her about it, me and my husband, we were dying over it. It is ridiculous. But
wait until you discover the theme park Tyra has planned for it. There's a whole website, so dig into that at your own leisure. But we haven't even gotten to that in the podcast.
Amazing. Yeah. I feel like we have to have you back on, Ryan, because we didn't even get through like a lot of the stuff we wanted to
I know. It's because I talk so damn much, but this has been such a blast. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on and just for being you, honestly. Like, you're so fun to watch and read and all of it. So
thank you both. I love the podcast. It's a joy listening to you guys, and I really appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome back anytime. Seriously. Angela was like, we're gonna have fun, but like I literally, the time has evaporated.
I know. And I'm about to evaporate too. So
it was one of the first is it cut out? No, it was one of the first times I forgot we were on Zoom. Like I actually
oh my God.
felt transported to like as if we're just in a room chatting together, which is really rare. Usually I'm hyper aware of being on Zoom, but so thank you. Thank you for sharing all your wonderful things, and hopefully see you again.
Yeah, see you guys soon. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you again for having me.